In today's video, we're going to be looking at dividing and transplanting established perennials in the garden. So the first thing is why? Why would you do this? Obviously with transplanting, you might just want to move your plant to a different location. With dividing, some perennials actually need it. So some things like astilbes, for example, every 3 to 5 years, you get to the point where they kind of lose performance, they stop blooming well, and so every 3 to 5 years you actually want to divide those plants to rejuvenate them so that they perform well. So we're going to walk you through how to do that with established plants in the garden. Now I want to just make sure that we're very clear. We're not talking about new plants that you're just putting into the garden from containers. We're talking about plants that have been in the garden for more than a year and are well established. So here we go. Now, we want to talk about timing first. So the good sort of general rule of thumb as far as timing goes, the best time of year to do this, perennials that flower in the spring or early summer, you do those in the fall. Perennials that flower in late summer and fall, you're going to do those guys in the spring. General rule of thumb. You can break that rule a lot of the time. It's not going to be a huge deal. The one thing that you do want to make sure is that you are not dividing or transplanting established perennials during the hottest part of the summer. Couple reasons for that. If you're doing it in the summertime, when it's really hot, when it's often quite dry, it's very stressful on the plants. And you end up having to actually water them and really baby them to keep them from dying. The plants can actually go into shock, so not a good thing. Best to do it when growth is slowing or just starting. So, like I say, either fall or spring. So what we have here is we have a large clump of daylily that could definitely use some dividing. Now, not all plants really need division. Certainly things like peonies, hostas, those plants don't need to be divided routinely. Daylilies are one of those plants that oftentimes, after a number of years, they will start to sort of slow down. They don't bloom as much. There are other plants like grasses that you'll actually notice they start to die out in the center. So when you see that, that's a good signal. It's time to actually lift that plant out, divide it, remove that dead central portion. This is just a large plant that can be divided. It's still blooming well, but it's a good subject for us to kind of show you how best to do this. So we're going to do this step by step. So the first step, of course, is to actually dig the plant out of the ground. So you want to get yourself a spade or a fork or a combination of the two things. And you're going to start digging about a foot away from the base of the plant. Good idea to do this because you want to try to get as much of the plant out of the ground as you can. So this is where we're actually going to start digging in all the way around the plant and loosening the soil. Okay, so now we have the clump dug out, and what we're going to do is actually make the division. So I love using a pruning saw for this job, or any kind of sharp serrated blade works really well. The next thing I'm going to do, even though this plant hasn't completely died back yet, I'm going to cut all the foliage off. When you're dividing in the fall, it's just good practice to do that. It will force the plant into dormancy completely, and you're going to have a lot less stress on the plant from the division or from the moving if you're just moving it. So I'm just shaving all the foliage right back to ground level. There we go. Now it'll be much easier to see what we're working with. So anytime you are dividing a perennial, once you have it lifted out of the ground, now basically your job is to try to find any natural points in the clump where it can be divided. In this case, we have a pretty solid clump, which is often the case with daylilies. And you can see it's just a mass here, right? But with something like this, you can literally pretty much just cut this into chunks very, very easily. What you do want to look for is the growth points on the plant. So on some plants, it's more obvious than others. On daylilies, the growth points are pretty much just where all the fans of leaves were. So every sort of stump where I cut off a fan of leaves is a growth point from which the plant will grow next year. And with a vigorous plant like a daylily, any division that even just has one fan on it will grow into a new plant without any problem. With some plants like peonies that are not as fast growing, you want to make sure that you have at least 3 to 5 growth points or eyes on each division. So when you're doing something like a peony, you'll see very clearly on the clump, once you've exposed the roots, the little eyes on there. They look very similar to what you see on a potato or something like that. So with this guy, I mean, we do have one little offset here that we can literally pretty much just pull off. So there's one plant. We have a little bit of a natural division here. I'll just tilt this a little bit so you can see. A little bit of a natural division here where you could cut. You could cut in here if you wanted. You could cut in here. It really doesn't matter. But this is where, again, this pruning saw really comes in handy. I'm literally just going to start cutting right through the clump. So there's a really nice big chunky division there, right? And if I wanted to, I could separate this little bit on the side. If it doesn't pull off easily, again, don't be afraid to just cut right through there. There's another plant. There's another plant. And I can even cut right down the middle. All right, so once you've made your divisions, it's time to replant them. And it's totally up to you whether you want to replant them together in basically the same hole where you dug the original plant out of, or if you want to spread them around the garden, give some to friends, family, totally up to you. In this case, I'm going to replant these two guys basically right where they were, these two bigger pieces. And so if you are not dividing, you're just transplanting, this is basically going to be the next step for you. So the difficult part, which is digging the hole, is already done. But when we replant, we're just basically going to treat it the same as if you're putting a new plant in the garden. So what we've done is we have replanted our two largest divisions in the original hole. We've added some compost, we've added some bone meal into the soil. We've backfilled, compressed the soil nicely, replaced the mulch. Now we just water it in and we're good. So that's basically all there is to it. It's very, very simple. The biggest thing with dividing and transplanting perennials is doing it at the right time of year. So again, general rule of thumb, perennials that flower in the spring to early summer are done in the fall, and perennials that flower in late summer to fall are done in spring. Simple as that. So for more great gardening tips, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoyed this video, like us on Facebook, and visit us on our website at greenlandgarden.com. Thanks so much for watching. Take care.